making your sound better.
Hello everybody, this is Jerry Mateo with WA Productions. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new KSHMR Essentials, our brand new multi-effects plugin that is essentially designed to do everything you need when it comes to mixing your productions or your beats or pretty much anything that you need. If you look at the UI, you'll notice it is very simple. You have the ability to choose either to view the waveform or the frequency response. You have tabs for each individual component that you want to mix. And this starts at bass, drums, kick, synths, and vocals. Each one of these processors can be mono or stereo, and the output controls are very simple. You have an input gain, output gain, a clipper, a auto gain function, and a dry wet mix. This is great for over-processing a sound and then just bringing in just a little bit of that over-processed sound, blending it in with the original to get a nice, colorful, tasteful mix of what you're trying to do. You can also monitor the left, right, mid, and side channels, and that's pretty much it for the advanced controls. If you want to mix something, you literally select the tab and you bring up and down the knob or the button, and that's it. It basically adds less or more of the effect. We're going to mix this track very quickly, very easily using just the KSHMR Essentials plugin. And what I mean by that is we've bypassed everything in this entire session besides the KSHMR plugin, and only this to mix this track. Now, this is a very simple production that was done from the producer Black Note Digital, and we featured the artist Thrive. We recorded her here at my studio almost 2 years ago, and we just started this off as a little fun project. It's very simplistic. There's really not that many elements. So this is something that's really going to help KSHMR shine by showing you how flexible it is. So let's listen to everything with no processing at all. The only thing I've done is had a fat channel, which is the stock plugin inside of Studio One, and this is going to be used as a high pass filter or a low cut filter. So here we go, the mix with nothing on.
Better to keep you buried inside the coffin and I remember the pain, the blisters that came as I dug your grave. I cried, I prayed, I bring flowers to the burial side nearly every night. I want to resurrect.
Cool, so if you notice, the vocals do sound okay. They're recorded very well, but they're a little dark. Thrive has a very dark voice, a very bottom-heavy voice, and she's also very dynamic, and you can hear it when she sings loudly. It really cuts out really abruptly, and it doesn't smooth its way out. So we're going to utilize the KSHMR Essentials to really smooth out the vocals. We're going to use this to help make it stereo and help have it sit in the mix while also cutting through. So let's just solo up the vocals. And let's get started. The vocals tab has a noise gate, body control, clarity, and air on the top. So the gate is obviously a gate. Body is going to add some nice weight and some low end to the signal, while clarity is going to get rid of some unwanted muddiness and also help bring up a little bit more of the detail. The air is going to add some really nice air using this trick that a lot of analog gear uses. The compressor is a very colorful compressor, so you can definitely hear it. And then pressure is our multi-band compressor. The spread knob, at least on the vocals tab, is going to help add some stereo width to this mono source by using a little bit of delay and phase. And then we have the glue control to do a little bit of subtle bus compression. So let's just listen to the vocals with no processing on them.
Better to keep you buried inside the coffin and I remember the pain, the blisters that came as I dug your grave. I cried, I prayed, I bring flowers to the burial side nearly every night. I ain't want to resurrect no soul, no tale is that good to be told over and over and over again when we all know that unhappy ending. I ain't want to resurrect no soul, no tale is that good to be told over and over and over again when we all know that unhappy ending.
Cool, so that really brought this performance to life. Body made it sound a little bit warmer, while clarity got rid of all of the unwanted muddiness. air made it sound brighter and more silky, while the compressor and the pressure, which is the multiband compressor, really helped shape the tone. The compressor gave it attitude and dynamic control, while the pressure, getting rid of anything that was too spiky in the lower mid-range or the higher frequencies. Spread made it stereo, and then glue just added some subtle invisible compression. And then I used the mix section to only use about 66% of the wet signal or the process signal, and the rest of it is going to be the dry signal. Let's go on to the bass, and this is going to be just as simple. We turn it on, we set it to bass, and we see we have new controls. The comp is still there, but the comp is actually going to have different settings than it would on the vocals. But we have harmonics, fuzz, pressure, which is multiband compression, and an exciter. So harmonics is going to generate harmonic frequencies. Fuzz is that nice high-end fizziness. And combined, they do quite a bit. We're going to do pressure to kind of smooth out the frequency response across the board. And then the exciter is going to add harmonics in only the high frequencies. This is much different than an air EQ or a high frequency shelf, because this is adding frequencies that are actually not there. So you can't really boost them up with a normal EQ, but with this, it actually generates them and makes them audible because they weren't there before. Cool, so the side cut just removes some of the side frequencies. In this case, we just want to get rid of it just in case, even though it's mono. I had the width set all the way to mono just because I don't need any stereo image for the bass. And then the compression is just doing some compression. I again used the mix section and only used about 81% wet, so let's bypass it and see what it did. So it made it stand out a little bit more. It added some harmonics, and that's really going to help in small speakers. If this is played in a retail market, this is going to help it cut through the small speakers because those tiny speakers do not actually process sub-frequencies. Next, we're moving on to the synth. So for this, we simply click on where it says synth, and we have body, presence, air, and excite. Body is going to add weight and power, while presence is going to help it cut through the mix, and this really does focus in frequencies that the human ear is sensitive to. We have air, which is again that really nice top airy silkiness, and excite, which is going to generate frequencies that are not there, which is going to do something that the air section can't do. Detail is going to add some detail by doing some kind of upwards expansion where it brings up things that were quiet before without compressing the things that were loud already, and this helps you just kind of hear everything in a different way. It functions completely differently than normal compression. Pressure is our multi-band compression, but again, this one's focused for the frequencies that the synth is usually heavy in. The expand is completely different than our other stereo imaging effects because this actually pushes the frequencies across the stereo spectrum, makes them sound super wide, but it also makes them sound like they're almost moving around. And then we have glue, which is just going to do some slight compression to glue it together. So let's listen to this. This is a lot more subtle than the other ones, but I really like the stereo imaging that I'm getting, and detail and pressure is really helping it just kind of cut through in a subtle but noticeable way. Moving on to the kick drum. This is pretty simple. We click on the kick tab, and if you notice, we have a subharmonic generator that we can choose the note that it generates. We have the mid control, which is going to add or remove it to the mid signal, which is essentially going to add it to your mono source. And this is extremely important if you're playing your tracks in a club or a venue or even a retail market, because those places are all set up to be mono, and it's very rare that they're going to be stereo. So usually you want your low end frequencies to be mono just in case. Air is air. Trans is actually the transient designer that's going to add some punch and detail to everything. And then the tape saturation is a nice vintage style saturation, while pressure is our multiband compression. We have the normal aggressive compression that we normally have, and then we have a stereo width control. So let's take a listen. Moving on to the drum bus. This is our final instance of KSHMR Essentials. And this is mostly focused on all of the other percussive elements. I don't have the bass going to here at all. I don't have the kick going here. We're only going to be doing the percussive elements like snaps, claps, and other such things. This has air control, body, detail, pressure, a transient designer, tape saturation, stereo width control, and glue. All stuff we've seen before. So let's jump into it. That sounds great. It really has spread it out, but also adds some nice little sheen to it. So now let's listen to the whole mix with KSHMR on, and then we'll bypass it to see what it's done to change everything.
Close my eyes, I swear I see your ghost. It's like you're much too close to life. Better to keep you buried inside the coffin and I remember the pain, the blisters that came as I dug your grave. I cried, I prayed, I bring flowers to the burial site nearly every night. I hear one to resurrect no soul. No tale is that good to be told over and over and over again, when we all know that unhappy ending. I hear one.
Cool, that sounds really good, especially considering that I used one plugin on each track, and it took me 5 minutes on each track to get it to sound like this. Now, if I actually sat down and I dialed in every setting exactly how I wanted it, I could really get a really nice sound and a really good mix, but I would also have to take a lot more time, whereas using KSHMR Essentials has really just given me a really quick stop that sounds amazing. Personally, I think the hero of this plugin is the vocal chain, the bass, and the kick processing. I think those are amazing, but then you really can't knock the synth stereo imaging. In my personal opinion, this is a really cool plugin that I'm really excited for, especially because it's light on CPU, it's really simple, and I can just slap it on a production that I'm in the process of working on with a client and go without having to worry about, am I going to bog down my CPU with a bunch of processing? Am I going to have to use a bunch of my outboard gear? I do have a ton of it, but I don't usually like to use it when I'm doing production because it takes a lot of time to set up, and then recall is a nightmare. That is all the time I have for you today. This is Jerry Mateo with WA Productions. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.